Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comic review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is our bigger show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that are releasing this week. And we've got some really great ones for you. So head on over to infinityflux.net right now. And while supplies last, these books are up there so you can order them. So if you see something you say, that sounds pretty fun, you got a way, just clickety...
You buy it right now.
Clickety-clack.
There's the website. Go to it.
Yep,
buy stuff.
It's physically right here.
Yeah,
I can
it's
reach
floating
up and
over.
grab it.
Yeah, I'll to.
But yeah, some really great books coming out this week, and some I think a lot of people are really interested in hearing about. So let's get it started.
Yeah, so we're going to start with Destro #1. This is the newest entry into the Energon universe, our fourth G.I. Joe related miniseries written by Dan Waters, the artist by Andre Bresson. Now, the first few pages of this book are the preview pages that we saw in the back of some other Energon universe books, so nothing new for the first few pages. But the context around that is Destro helping a group of rebels overthrow the government in a country called Darklonia. But of course, he has his own sort of selfish reasons for doing that. One of those reasons being to test his battle android troopers, or bats, you know, for those who know the old school G.I. Joe stuff. And they are powered by Energon, which has been supplied by Cobra Commander. So a little bit of a Cobra Commander tie-in. I would recommend that you read the Cobra Commander series first before reading this, because it sort of kind of leads into this. Whereas the other, you know, Duke and Scarlet, they're kind of their own thing. You can read those whenever. But read Cobra Commander first. But the bats don't exactly perform as expected.
Especially when you find out what they... Yeah. They work really well at doing one thing.
Yeah, it's a feature, not a bug. No, but so you know, there's a few kinks to work out there. But it kind of jumps ahead a little bit to a few weeks later, where Destro is holding the secret expo with various governments from around the world and also some private defense companies to show off some of his new military equipment, because he runs Mars Technologies, which is you know, they make weapons, they make the bats, they make these awesome tanks and all the cool stuff you see Cobra use. So they're showing off all this new equipment, but there's one notable absence from this expo, and it's a company called Extensive Enterprises, and that company is run by Tomax and Xamot. So, you know, other classic G.I. Joe characters there. And we do see why they aren't there, but I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to spoil that piece of it for you. But it does look like their company will be in direct opposition to Mars and Destro, at least for this series. So that looks like that might be the conflict of this miniseries. And inevitably, I'm assuming they're all going to come together because, you know, we know that they're all eventually part of Cobra, you know, Destro and Tomax and Xamot and Cobra Commander and the Dreadnoks. And we know that they're all going to coalesce into Cobra at some point, but they aren't there yet. So that's really cool to see in this story.
We are going to definitely see, too, when they come together, the built-up of tension between all of the players.
Yeah.
That you can just imagine, like, Cobra as a whole is just vibrating with as much, just like everyone's at each other's throats, but they're working together just a little bit.
And I just think it's really cool because as a kid, I was always kind of confused. Like, well, Cobra has all these like Cobra Vipers, and they have the Crimson Guard, and they have these other groups of people. But then you've got people like Cobra Commander and Destro and Dr. Mindbender and Tomax and Xamot. Why are they special? And it's cool to see, oh, actually, at least in this world, they were different factions doing their own things that eventually come together, I'm assuming eventually come together to form Cobra. So it's really cool to see the beginnings of all of those different characters. So a really cool first issue. If you are a fan of the Energon universe, of the G.I. Joe related books, definitely pick this up because it's just another piece of that big puzzle. So we have our A cover right here, and we got some cool variants. We have a blank sketch variant. This one I really like. This is from Milana, Cobra Commander and Destro. We have this really cool Howard Energon Universe connecting cover, so this connects with some of the other ones. And then there is a black and white version of that as well. We've got our 1 in 10 Sismeja variant that we're selling for $6.99. I like that one too. I love these 1 in 25 Steve Epting cover. We're selling that one for $17.99. Kind of look like the old school, you know, card backs. I love those. And then we have the 1 in 50 Fornes variant that we're selling for $19.99.
Very fun.
Yep.
glad that we've got now 2 more books we're going back and forth with Destro and Scarlet to, we've got this whole ride once again.
Yep.
Okay, next up, I've got a really fun one this week that kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere. We knew this was coming, but what was it? So this is Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime #1. And, I mean, Uncle Scrooge has, like, a really long history with comics.
Right.
I mean, that he's kind of was created for the comics and everything other than him being a Christmas Carol knockoff character.
That was my first exposure to him, though, was Christmas Carol.
So this is actually written by Jason Aaron, which is awesome because, I mean, you've got Jason Aaron who, just wrote Superman, but also had an extensive run on Punisher, Wolverine and Weapon X, Avengers, writing Scrooge McDuck. And
it's soon to come Ninja Turtles.
Turtles. Yeah. But this works really well. The art is by Francesco Dipolito and various others. There's kind of chapters to this. But, and I do want to preface this also by saying there is a reprint in the back of Christmas on Bear Mountain by Carl Barks, who is one of the greats in comics. Carl Barks working on Scrooge McDuck and a lot of the Disney properties. But there's a reason why that's printed in here, because think of this as almost a what-if story. Because it begins at the same place that Christmas on Bear Mountain begins, and Scrooge, Donald, and Huey, Dewey, and Louie are going to visit Scrooge. And at this point, Scrooge is still a cantankerous old grubbing man. But in the original story, this event kind of turned him around and he ended up loving his nephews and everything. But in this, it says, what if they didn't make it there in time? And basically, Scrooge McDuck said, like, I can't trust anybody. No one comes and visits me. And he kind of doubles down on his Scrooginess. All he loves is his giant piles of money and his first dime that he keeps on a necklace. It was the first dime he ever made. And this kind of sets off a what-if story of he just kept going through the world. He doesn't steal. He's an adventurer. But he collects all these artifacts. But he gets to a point where he still doesn't feel like there's something missing in his life. He said, I've got basically all the treasure in the world. He's got acres and acres of just pounds and flowing gold. But he realizes, he thinks that the thing that gives him happiness is his first dime. And he's like, oh, if I can recapture that feeling. Well, he also discovers that he had gotten a special mirror from one of his explorations, and this is kind of a infinity mirror or something, and he sees other multiverses within it. And so he decides, I'm going to go through the multiverse and collect even more treasure, because that's what's going to make me feel whole. Well, because of this starts this very, like, Kang the Conqueror type story, where he's going through, becoming kind of a darker and darker version of himself. He even basically steals his first dime from multiple reality versions of himself and puts them on his knuckles. And he calls himself the Scrooge above all, as he kind of becomes this dark persona of himself. And we follow the regular Scrooge McDuck and Donald, Huey, Dewey, and Louie as they discover this and attempt to stop the version of Scrooge from, wreaking havoc across the multiverse. It is so well done. It just flows well. It's funny. It's like it's you wouldn't expect this level of storytelling from, this depth of storytelling, but it's very heartwarming. It has a happy ending and everything. Even if you've never read a Scrooge McDuck comic or, think, oh, those are for kids or whatever, give this one a try because it is very good. Jason Aaron really captures just that kind of Disney adventure.
Yeah, I just love that it's such a fantastical story, and it's Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah,
and you've got an Alex Ross cover here. I mean, like, a missed opportunity though to have all the what if. They've done the Disney characters, like to have them in here at some point.
It's cool because you do see multiple realities in this, different versions of characters, and there's some good Scrooge McDucks through the multiverse that may team up with the regular one. but they all have a little twist. This one is the one from medieval times. This is the one, and so you get some of that. But also, what happens when you have an army of very angry Donald Ducks from the multiverse? Just tons of fun, and then you get to read that Christmas on Bear Mountain story.
Oh yeah.
And you see like, oh, I see how this works with that original story. So I thought it was great to read the kind of what if and then that one to see, oh, this is how Scrooge became the good man that he became. So highly recommend it. It's an oversized issue.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like $5.99, I think.
Yeah,
but it's oversized, big.
Yeah, and you have both of those stories reprinted in there. Plus a lot of really fun kind of back matter stuff. Some of the editors and stuff share their favorite covers from Scrooge McDuck series in the past. Just great. So we've got this A cover right here, which, like you said, is the Alex Ross cover. And it does not stop there. So we have this Pastoricchio variant. I believe that's the artist that's been doing the What If Amazing Spider-Man covers with the Disney.
Oh, okay.
And you can see the regular Scrooge McDuck and his kind of evil, almost like a Mr. Hyde version. We have, of course, a Scotty Young variant. We've got a John Romita Jr. variant. This one's really nice. This is the Steve McNiven variant. This is the foil.
Ooh, that looks so good. Yeah.
You got the Beagle Boys in the background, which are like his henchmen that appear all through the multiverse.
His coat and his glasses are all shiny. His hat. Yeah, that's a great foil cover.
Great spot foil. And then we've got some incentives. We've got this 1 in 10 Delato variant, which, I mean, is super cool. We're selling for $19.99. And then we also have this Walt Simonson cover. This is the 1 in 25. We're selling for $24.99.
Well, next up is another big one. This is Ultimate Spider-Man number 6. So glad to have a new issue of this great series, and it's good to have Marco Cicchetto back on art.
Yes.
Glad to have him back. Now, there's not a whole lot that I can say about this issue because this issue is really only 2 different things, and that encompasses the whole issue. The first thing, not the first thing in the book, but the main kind of crux of this issue is Spider-Man and Green Goblin teaming up to take on Wilson Fisk to confront him about the true state of the world now that Harry has all that information. They confront him about that, his place in that world, things like that. So there was a lot of good action. I know the last 2 issues have been very calmer, quieter, a lot of talking heads and things like that. Necessary, though, because they really fleshed out the characters, fleshed out the world, but we get a lot of action in this. A good fight between the 2 heroes and Wilson Fisk. But I will say that they are woefully unprepared with, they just bust in and think everything's going to go great, but maybe not.
He's got some, we kind of speculate about this, but maybe even some enhancements.
Yeah, we saw in one of the covers something strange, and it's addressed in this a little bit. But a good fight there. And there's also a lot of great family moments in this. We've had a lot of Peter and May in this book, but there's a lot of moments between, the whole family. So Peter, May, Richard, and Mary Jane, the 4 of them together talking about things. And, we haven't seen Richard, I think, in maybe 2 or 3 or 4 issues.
In the background.
Yeah. So he's in there. There's some great Peter and Mary Jane conversation. So we get some good action. We get some good family moments. We get some good artwork. And it all just comes together in a really nice package. And I'm not going to tell you what the ending of the issue is, but I'll say it is fantastic. I loved it, and I want to see more.
There's the scene at the end that's great. There is the kind of what happens with the character kind of finally saying something.
Yeah.
There's so much good to this.
Yeah.
I feel like that is the strong point of this. It's like, it's great action. It's cool to see this other version of stuff. But I feel like the core of this is the family.
Yes.
And Hickman has done a great job at like really emphasizing Peter's kind of support group.
Yeah.
When he comes back home, even if they don't know he's Spider-Man, they're there supporting him no matter what.
And this definitely does feel like the end of the first story arc, but we are nowhere near done. We are not done with Wilson Fisk. We're not done with Green Goblin. There is a ton more to tell, but I feel like this is like the first chapter, and there's still a bunch more story to come. So a great issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, one of the best one that they've released so far out of the 6. So there's our A cover right there. And then we have this, well, it was this cover actually. This Manhanini variant, and I'll just let you look at Kingpin there for a second. And he looks kind of strange in that, and that is addressed in this issue. We have this really awesome Chris Samney variant. Just give me a Chris Samney Spider-Man book, please, because that looks awesome. And then we have this 1 in 25 David Marquez variant that we're selling for $24.99.
Next up, kind of staying within the Spider universe, but taking a detour to the Venomverse, we have Venomoverse Reborn #1. So this is along the same line as your Spider-Verse. There's the previous Venomverse. This is an anthology book, but anthology where they're kind of building a roster of characters that you may see pop up later. So this has an overarching story by Al Ewing and Danilo S. Beyruth. And I'm only guessing this is leading to the Venom War stuff.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It feels like they're kind of teasing that. So the overarching, I forgot what it's called, but kind of the bookend stories is, if you're familiar with the Hand of Fate, it's kind of the severed hand that has the fingers have a little candle and they're burning, and you can ask it questions and that kind of thing. There's that in the future, but it's a Venom hand. And basically it tells you you can ask 5 questions. And it's I'll get some of them out of the way because everyone asks these questions. It tells you some fun stuff. But then these stories they're going to be telling are kind of answers to questions. And that's where we get into kind of the anthology style of this. So the first story is called Kiss the Ring by Christos Gage and Greg Land. And this is really fun, especially with that title. So this is a story with the Venom from the Spider-Man PlayStation games. This is kind of the first appearance of that version of Venom, which is super cool, having played those games, just to kind of get back into that world a little bit. But this Venom gets brought over into the 616 as the King in Black storyline is going on, and he is confronted by Null, who kind of gives him this grandiose, people call me different names, the King in Black, all of these things, but you can call me Null. And he makes an offer to this new Venom about, you can join me, we're going to be super powerful, all that. But something about this Venom, it could be maybe who's inside of the Venom, it raises some red flags for him with some of the things he's offering.
As well it should.
Yes. And so the Venom of the Spider-Man video games may have a new enemy. I'll say that. You got to read it to find out. There's some good jokes too. Even the narration says something like, I'll tell you about this, but I don't really play those kind of games.
There were some in the Spider-Man 2 game. There were some Easter eggs to Null.
Yeah,
so...
even some of the symbiotes with the spirals, all of that. So that's really cool. I think a lot of people want to check out that story. The second story is called The Host. This is written by Benjamin Percy and the art is by Brian Level. And this is probably one of the most horrific Marvel stories I've read in a while. I guess if you think kind of along the lines of the some of the kind of body horror that Hulk's been through, but this is maybe even more over the top.
I thought it fits in line with the Red Band books that we've been getting lately.
Yes, think along the lines of Red Band, because we have Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Bruce Banner. And they are investigating the murder of some other Avengers. It starts with one, and it's in very mysterious ways and very gruesome ways that they kind of one body leads to another, and they realize that there's something going on. They're taking out these characters in very horrific ways. And it's not long before they start looking at each other too, kind of accusing each other of being behind it. But you'll have to read it to see. There's an insane scene with Iron Man that is just going to haunt me.
Yeah.
But definitely a mature read just for graphic content with all the stuff that's going on there. But it's very much tonally it fits within the story and everything. So that one was actually pretty fun and disturbing. And then it goes back and kind of picks up with the overarching story and leads into what we're going to be getting next. But I haven't been keeping up with all the Venom stuff, so I still found this very accessible I didn't have a whole lot of questions about stuff. I could kind of figure with what's going on in the beginning is going to play a part later on in the overarching Venom story. But I really enjoyed it. The short stories were really fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So that is Venomverse Reborn #1. And of course, we've got some variants for this one. Venom can't make it out of the gate without having a bunch of variant covers. So this one's really cool. This is the Derek Chew variant with your video game version.
Your Insomniac Venom.
Insomniac Venom. We've got this LaRocca variant, which is very cool. We've got the U connecting variant. I guess we'll be getting all the different versions on here. And lastly, we have a 1 in 25 Medina variant we're selling for $14.99.
And real quick, so you mentioned the real gruesome story in there is written by Benjamin Hersey. He's going to be here at our store on Friday, this coming Friday, June 21st. So if you're local, he'll be here from 12 to 1 doing signings and things like that. And he'll actually be here with me and Andy a little bit before that. And we're going to do a little video interview with him just to ask him some questions that we will post on YouTube later. So if you guys have any questions for him, pass them along to us and we can ask him. And yeah, that should be really cool. We're looking forward to having him here. So that's going to be great.
Really question him about that Iron Man scene.
Yeah, where in the world did you get the idea for that? So excited to have him here for sure. All right, so next up is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin 2, Re-Evolution #2. I think I got it right this time. Yeah.
Nailed all the twos.
All the twos. It says too much. In this one, so at the beginning of this, Casey and the Turtles, they race Odin, who, I was still having trouble with the names, but Odin is the big one. He's back here, I think. They race him back to their lair because he sort of froze up in the battle at the end of last issue. Became paralyzed, like he physically couldn't move. And so they want to find out what's wrong with him. And while they're running some tests, we get a little exposition into the creation of these 4 new turtles, which I don't think we've gotten before. Because I was like, wait, where did they come from?
We only saw them as little tiny turtles at the end of the previous last run.
Yeah, so we get a little bit of a background into why they're there, how they were created, things like that. Not so much like flashbacks though, but just like April talking to another character and they're talking about the creation of them. So that was really cool because that's a lot more information than we've had before. And then a bit later, there are 2 rival gangs that start to go at each other in the streets, and there's a whole lot of innocent people caught in the middle of those 2. So Casey and the Turtles, they go up to the surface again to intervene to try to save all the innocent people they can. But during the fight, something really interesting happens with a couple of the turtles that I won't spoil for you, but I did not see it coming, and it raises all kinds of questions. Like, wait, what even is this? Why is this? That kind of thing. So really cool. So yeah, if you're getting all the Last Ronin stuff, I'm loving the new turtles. Still having trouble with their names, but that will come with time. And so another solid issue of Last Ronin. Well, the Last Ronin stuff. So there's our A cover right there.
That's the abridged title.
Right. We have a really cool Kevin Eastman variant. I love seeing Kevin Eastman draw the new Turtles.
Yeah.
And then we have this really nice 1 in 10 Williams II variant that we're selling for $19.99. And that one is Uno, I believe, is that one.
You've got to yell at that turtle when you've got 1 card left.
That's right.
Next up, I've got Amazing Spider-Man #52, and check out the homage cover to Amazing Spider-Man 300. Very cool. This time with Spider-Goblin, our newest weird thing going on with Peter in his life. So not a whole lot to say about this issue, but we do have Spider-Goblin facing off against Chasm. And the art duties on this is split between Ed McGuinness and Todd Knopf. 2
of the greats. Yeah.
Yeah, McGuinness kind of tackles the Chasm Spider-Goblin stuff, the big fight that they have, which there's a lot of interesting dialogue going on there too, because you kind of have iterations of Peter for both of them. Neither of them now are kind of Peter Prime.
Right.
And then Todd Knopf does the art for the stuff that's going on with Camilla Khan and Norman Osborn, because she's started to have her suspicions that maybe Norman isn't this kind of good guy that he was, when she started working at Horizon Labs, and she begins to investigate that, which is really fun to kind of bring her back in here and have since we don't have really a protagonist in Peter currently because he's crazed out as a goblin, to have Camilla as your good guy is really nice. And can Peter revert back to himself long enough to reverse the goblin permanently? It's not looking too good, and I really don't know where the story's going because it's just all over the place. But really interesting. The art is fantastic.
Yeah, I'll say about this issue and the couple before it, a visual splendor. The colors, the action, the artwork, top notch. Like, this is such a fun comic book to just look at. I mean, it's so amazing.
We've seen a couple of 2-page spreads from Ed McGuinness, and he delivers another one here that's just, you open it and you just want to pour over it because of how great it looks. So check it out. Very interesting stuff going on right now in Amazing Spider-Man. That is our A cover, which is nice. I feel like that would have been one that they would really try to push as like a 1 in 100 or something. We've got this fantastic Villalobos cover. We've got this one's really fun. Here's our Scotty Young Big Marvels cover.
Spider-Punk.
Plenty of Peter. So to get him to do some of the other spiders is really fun. We've got this Go Pride variant with North Star. We have a 1 in 25 Addy Granoff cover. We're selling for $19.99. We've got this one, which is awesome. I love that they're doing these. This is the 1 in 50 Scotty Young variant, the kind of sketch, the inked variant that we're selling for $44.99.
Color that one yourself.
Yep, and here is the big one this week. This is the 1 in 100 Villalobos Virgin variant that we're selling for $119.99.
We're selling it for under $120.
Or you can pay with that diamond that she has in her
That's
hand.
true, yeah.
We would also accept that.
All right, so next up is Doctor Strange number 16. This is a Blood Hunt tie-in. The last issue showed us, it took place seconds after the end of Blood Hunt number 1. Well, in this one, it's all about Wong, and there's nothing wrong with that because
no, bad. Shouldn't have done that.
But because we saw in Blood Hunt number 3, and this does take place after Blood Hunt number 3, but we saw in Blood Hunt number 3 that the heroes have dispersed into 3 different things that they're going to go do, and Doctor Strange and Clea have gone off to do their own thing. So Wong is left at the Sanctum Sanctorum by himself because Doctor Strange is still in his astral form because his physical body has been turned into a vampire, and it's chained up with the Crimson Man of Sidorak or one of those things. And so Wong is left to watch over his body. Well, maybe Wong isn't there by himself, and maybe Doctor Strange's physical vampire body is not as secure as it may seem. And the whole issue is Wong at the Sanctum Sanctorum dealing with that. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing. But, Wong is really cool. And it's just cool to see, Doctor Strange as a vampire doing cool things. But that's literally it. That's the whole issue, but it's still a good one. So there is our A cover right there. And then we have this really cool Scotty Young Big Marvels variant featuring either a sleepy or a drunk Doctor Strange. Not sure which one, or just an indifferent Doctor Strange. I just don't really care.
It's kind of his mesmerizing face.
Right.
Okay, next up, I've got another new one in the Spawn universe. This is Misery, and like it says at the top, a Spawn universe title. We've gotten Monolith recently, and now we have Misery. This is written by Todd McFarlane, and the art is by Simon Kurdansky. I can never say his name right. Kurdansky.
Yeah.
I always forget that R in there. Kurdansky. Who has worked on Spawn titles for years and years. So it looks very accurate to kind of newer Spawn books. But this follows Cyan, who, of course, is Al Simmons' daughter, even though she thinks Al Simmons is her uncle. Which I forgot that was still going on.
Interesting.
And the daughter of Wanda. But since we've kind of watched her grow up since the very beginning of Spawn, when she was a baby and then kind of a toddler and all of that, she's now kind of a young adult. I'm guessing around 18, something like that. And she's starting to realize everything that's happened to her, the death of her mother, her who she believes is her father, kind of holding her back from kind of overprotecting her, that kind of thing. And she's had enough of it. And she also has powers now. She can turn invisible.
Oh, by the way,
she can turn invisible. And so she's decided to kind of leave home and kind of discover herself and discover her place in this world as she goes. She ends up kind of, I don't know where her plan is, where she's going, but she does meet up with a friend. They're in the subway, and they get attacked in the subway station by some hooligans or something like that.
Some ne'er-do-wells.
Ne'er-do-wells. But she might have another power that suddenly flourishes that's very interesting. And at the end, I guess you do find out where she's going, and it was another nice Spawn surprise.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is, I believe, only going to be 4 issues. 4 issues. It's just a mini series, but it's nice to catch up with another Spawn supporting character and what they are up to. So this is our A cover, and then we also have a Todd McFarlane variant.
All right, well, next up, I've got Venom Separation Anxiety #2. This is a...
Then you should read some Venom.
What?
If you got some Venom Separation Anxiety.
Yes.
That's to get you back for that one.
Oh, my gosh. So this is another Marvel's retro series that fits in line with the books that came out in the 90s. You know, you still got Eddie Brock as Venom and all that stuff. He still wants to eat Spider-Man's brains, that kind of thing. Well, in this one... at the end of last issue, the Purple Man here got a little piece of the symbiote, and now it's sort of venomized the Purple Man, right? Well, he is looking for this prism that contains a hair of his that Doctor Doom used to harness the Purple Man's powers back in the Emperor Doom graphic novel from 1987. So I thought that was really cool to see. Like, I haven't read that, but I want to go read. Yeah, deep dive for sure. And I don't want to say where it is, but he does find it. And but Venom finds him because, you know, Venom's chasing after him. You know, he's got a piece of his symbiote, and he says, like, I feel like a part of him is missing. You know, because a little part of him is now it's Purple Man. So Venom does find the Purple Man as the Purple Man is looking for this little sliver of a prism, and it leads to a confrontation between Venom and Ben Grimm, which is always really cool. I love seeing, you know, heroes and villains who don't normally associate with each other.
Big kind of big, strong, burly ones slugging it out.
The art by Gerardo Sandoval is fantastic in this, and yeah, you got 2 big, you know, stocky guys going at each other, so that was really fun. But the Purple Man isn't the only one looking for this prism. There's another player on the board, and I don't know if I'm supposed to know who it is. If it is, I don't recognize them. There must be somebody from the 80s or 90s. I'm not 100% sure who it is. But I will say this was just a lot of fun, and it's another fun comic book, something I think like a kid would like to read, like the good action, good art, that kind of thing. And yeah, Venom and the Thing fighting is really cool. And you know, what's really cool is, you know, at this stage in his life, I guess, the Purple Man has been given this implant to where his mind control powers only work for somebody that he can touch. So, you know, when he's regular, he's like, oh, it's pretty easy to stay away from him. But now that he's got this symbiote, he can, like, reach out and touch anybody, control anybody. So that's just a really cool thing. I really liked it. So this issue was a ton of fun. I like this a whole bunch. So if you've got the first issue, definitely get the second one. There's our A cover right there. We have this awesome Sakura homage variant to Amazing Spider-Man #1. I love that a bunch. So yeah, really cool issue.
I really want them, like, you see Purple Man on the cover where, you know, you've got characters Venom, Carnage, Scream, Toxin. He needs to be called Grape.
I would love that.
He's the Grape Man, or just in that Venom font it says Grape.
So David McElhinney, if you're watching this, please make that happen by the end of the series.
Yes. Okay, so next up is a tie-in I really liked. This is Dracula Blood Hunt #2. I really like the first issue. You see kind of Dracula finding Brielle and taking her from Atlanta to
New York.
Yeah. Where she meets with the Avengers and all of that. This issue takes place after issue 2 of Blood Hunt. So I feel like this one is, you know...
Well, that's after issue 3.
Is that after issue?
Because 3 is when she was told that her dad, and then this is pretty quick after that.
Yeah. So after issue 3, where she's told that her father is behind all of this, and where she kind of learns that she is going to be pretty important in stopping him. And, you know, she's new to being a superhero. She's new to this whole world. And to, you know, everything she knows is her dad is a pretty good person who trained her and all of that. That she has to turn around and maybe eliminate him. Sends her running out the door, basically.
Mm-hmm.
She does not want anything to do with this. She's very confused about what's the right thing to do. Of course, the streets are overrun by vampires. She runs into a gang of them, but she's not alone when Daredevil appears. And talk about the best part of this book.
Yeah, Daredevil's great.
Daredevil is so good in this.
Mm-hmm.
He is so likable.
Yep.
You know, it feels a little classic Daredevil where he does have a lot of charm too. But he's also a very kind person. So you got some great action with Brielle and Daredevil fighting vampires. But, you know, they have a back and forth on a rooftop where Daredevil doesn't exactly know everything that's been going on. He hasn't been right there in the room with the Avengers and all that. And so Brielle fills him in on everything and kind of poses to him like, I don't know what to do. My father is, you know, maybe behind all this. And Daredevil has some really insightful things to say and some very, you know, deep things about what it means to be a hero. When do you do the right thing? At what point do you become a hero? You know, he talks about your villains will go from thugs to enemies to kind of the super villains. But what happens when the biggest villains are people that you love?
Mm-hmm.
And he says basically like coming from a place that I've been in that situation and I've been the villain. So just fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
Also, this is the Dracula book. Dracula does show up because you can't get too far away from him. He can track you. And it sounds like there's going to be a lot of fun stuff coming in the 3rd issue as they Brielle and Dracula team back up.
And there's some fisticuffs between Daredevil and Dracula, which is really good. The artwork's great.
Yeah.
So
really
cool
I will
stuff.
say one of the biggest highlights in this for me is the art. The artist is Karatu.
Yeah.
And just fantastic. David Curiel does the colors. I mean, this is a great team that I would love to see on more stuff.
Definitely.
We were saying like just put them on a Daredevil book.
Yep.
This whole team would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say out of all of, I haven't read the Avengers tie-ins to Blood Hunt, which I know you really like.
I really like them, yeah.
For me, the Dracula so far is my favorite tie-ins to Blood Hunt.
I've read all of them so far, and Avengers is my favorite, I think, but this is up there for sure.
Yeah, so comes with our highest recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
That is Dracula Blood Hunt number 2. And we also have this Manhanini variant as well. And you kind of get that scene right there.
Yeah.
No, I don't think all 3 of them are there together at once, but you get a lot of butt kicking.
Yep.
In that issue.
Well, we're going to stay with Blood Hunt tie-ins for a minute. We're going to talk about Black Panther Blood Hunt number 2. And this one, now, stay with me here. This one takes place before Blood Hunt number 3. There's a note at the beginning that says...
They have been doing well with that.
Yeah, so whereas the Dracula one is after, this is before Blood Hunt number 3. And this issue kind of goes back and forth between present day and very far in the past, as the Panther goddess Bast tells Black Panther about the demon Varney, who I think is the first vampire. I'm pretty sure. And she there's a whole lot of stuff set in the past with that demon Varney, but also Khonshu and Bast and some other gods. I don't remember all of them, as they sort of try to take on Varney, who has kidnapped some people. And it all has to do with this hidden temple that Blade has tasked Black Panther with finding. And if you read Blood Hunt number 3, you know that he did find it, and you saw what happened with that. And again, this is all before that. He's still on the search for the temple in this one. But he, you know, if when he does find it, and that's not a spoiler because we know he does because we saw it in number 3. But there is a difficult obstacle in the way before Black Panther is able to get to that temple. He has to go through something first. So yeah, just a pretty solid tie-in as well. One that I do feel like is of medium importance to the main story because things that happen in this we then see in the main story. So you know, if you're trying to figure out which ones to pick up, yeah, fills in the gaps for sure. So we have this A cover right here, and then we have this Davi Go variant with Black Panther.
And I did like to see Khonshu with his weird bird head walking around, his floating bird head.
Yeah.
Next up for me, I've got Titans number 12. Just want to talk about this real quick. I always try to keep up with this because it's, you know, DC's premier team since the Justice League isn't around. This semi wraps up the story about this new android that showed up. That we kind of learned in the last issue is not all bad. Teomaro kind of messed with her sensors and stuff, so she was seeing the Titans as bad guys. But we learn of the deeper connection this android had with Donna Troy, which I thought was really, really nice. Plus, we've got this stuff with Raven as her power grows, this dark Raven, the Raven persona that's inside of her gym is kind of fighting back a little bit, even if it's only with sarcastic remarks. But it's not going to be long before the Dark Raven character makes herself known to the rest of the Titans before it's too late. So another really fun issue of Titans. And we've got, I think maybe this story will have maybe one more issue. This is part 5. Usually they don't go too far after a part 6. We've got this really nice, this is the Lee Garbett variant with the whole team there. And we have this really kind of psychedelic Blacklight Taylor variant.
That's cool. Well, keeping with the DC theme, we're going to go with Wonder Woman number 10. And this kind of shows the next kind of trial that Wonder Woman has to go through at the hands of the Sovereign as she finds herself on a remote island, basically, where a very hungry cheetah, and I'm not talking about the animal cheetah, I'm talking about Barbara Minerva, the character cheetah, is waiting to attack her.
Are you talking about Chester Cheetah?
No, he's there. He ate all the Cheetos. That's why they're hungry. So they fight. Wonder Woman and Cheetah fight for days on this island. But I don't want to tell you the outcome of that because it's maybe not what you expect. But I will say that there's some really funny moments in this with Donna Troy, Cassie Sandsmark, and Yara Flor as they try to figure out how to work the invisible jet. There's some really funny stuff with that. And then there's also another really funny backup story with Trinity, John, and Damian, where John and Damian seek out help from a supervillain to assist Trinity with something that she's trying to do. And it's really fun. All of the backup stories have been really, really fun and funny, and this one is as well. And just another, and we're still not done with the Sovereign stuff yet. But the next 3 issues of Wonder Woman are going to be absolute power tie-ins. And before it all comes and circles back. But yeah, just another really cool, some good action between Wonder Woman and Cheetah in this. So there is your A cover right there, and we have some nice variants.
Especially any issue that has more Donna Troy and Cassie Sandsmark. I'm all for.
Yep.
I love those characters.
For sure. So this is our Dan Panosian variant. And we have a Julian Totino, wait, did I say that right? Yeah, Totino Tedesco variant. And then we have the Phil Jimenez Pride variant with Nubia and Wonder Woman, and I'm not sure. I don't remember some of the other characters' names right there.
And all the rest.
Yeah.
Okay, next up I've got She-Hulk at number 9. This is kind of a public service announcement for this issue. So this is a big issue. Some big stuff happens in this. I don't want to give away what it is, but we found out that this series is ending at
number 10.
Number 10, yeah. And this is number 9. So there's at least 5 more issues.
Wait, what?
It's just one more issue, but this does give us a hint to where She-Hulk will be showing up and how she'll look in that. A lot of interesting stuff happened in this. This is the variant by Adam Hughes, which is really nice, but there was, depending on your distributor, there is an issue facing multiple distributors where
multiple stores.
Multiple stores, yeah. Where this She-Hulk issue is going to be a little bit delayed. It should be in the stores by Wednesday, but if not, they are trying to work it out.
Yeah.
So we don't have it up on our website yet. And if you go into your local comic book store and they don't have it, it's because there's an issue with the shipping about it. Uh, they're working on fixing it, and you should be getting it soon. But we wanted to let you know because it is a kind of big issue, and it's leading up to the finale. But don't worry, you're good. And maybe your store has this really nice Adam Hughes variant. So just wanted to let you know about that one. And sad to see the series end because I've really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's a bummer for sure. All right, well, we've got one more Blood Hunt tie-in. This is Wolverine Blood Hunt number 2. And I remembered my other favorite Blood Hunt tie-in is a Fantastic Four from last week. It was super good too. So Fantastic Four, Avengers, and probably Dracula are my 3 favorites so far, but we're still not done with all of them yet. But anyway, we have Wolverine Blood Hunt number 2 right here. And this one, it's this series so far has just been Wolverine and Night Guard on the other side of the country. Just what are they doing? Hey, what's Wolverine doing? You know, well, this shows you that Wolverine and Night Guard, they deal with more of the vampire mercenaries that Maverick has sent after them. And then after they deal with that, they do track him to his base, but they are confronted with something that they were not expecting. And it's pretty cool. But it's always cool to see Wolverine just slashing up some vampires, you know, with, you know, they're super evil. They're not really humans, so just slash them up. It's always great to see that kind of thing. So yeah, another the last of our 4 Blood Hunt tie-ins for this week, I believe. So there's our A cover right there, and then we have this Nick Bradshaw variant is really cool. I always love seeing Wolverine on a motorcycle. Yep. That's great.
Next up, I've got Jango Fett number 4. Not a whole lot to say about this. It's the final issue of this story arc. They've been doing 4-issue miniseries, which is interesting. But this one's really fun, wraps everything up. But my favorite part is this does have some nods to Attack of the Clones, and maybe why Jango's the perfect person to be the template of the clones going forward. So you have to read to see what that is, but I really like the kind of full circle bring it back to where we'll see him next.
That's interesting, because I always did kind of wonder, why him?
Yeah.
You know?
You learn in here, it's more than just his fighting ability and all of that. It's something else. So that is your A cover.
He's a great cook, and they want all of the clone troopers to be cooks.
That would be, I mean, it'd be nice. And we also have this really nice Tony Daniel variant.
All right, so next up is Nightwing, number 115. This is Fallen Grayson, part 2, inching ever closer to Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo's finale on this book. And in this one, Heartless hatches his plan to kidnap Dick Grayson during their big fundraising event that they're having in Alfred's name. And his plan works. Like, it goes off without a hitch. And he catches Dick very off guard and leaves him in a very compromising situation that I am very interested to see how Dick gets out of it. So yeah, it's really cool. So I think we have this, and I believe there's, let's see, 115, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, there's 3 more parts, I believe, before Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo leave the book.
Off this earthly coil.
Well, no, not that extreme, but yeah. So another really good issue of Nightwing. There's our A cover right there.
This variant's great.
Yeah, we have some great variants. This one is from Marco Santucci, featuring Nightwing and Haley, or Bitewing. We've got our Dan Mora cover. I've been getting all the Dan Mora covers. And then we have this really cool Bruca Jones Pride variant. Oops.
Cool to see Tim and Connor Hawk on that too.
Yeah, Tim and Connor Hawk and Nightwing hanging out watching some fireworks.
Next up, we've got issue number 3 of Penthouse Comics. And this has still been a lot of fun with all this kind of crime noir stories they've been telling in here. We get the continuation of Gun Crazy, continuation of I Spit on Your Grave. The new one that started the last issue, The Dead All Have the Same Skin, which I really liked, has been really interesting. The Dream, which is the beautiful Gilliam March story with fantastic art. And this one has a new, kind of just one-shot story by Brandon Graham, who has a very unique style. I don't want to say what the title of the story is, but it's basically a illustrated diary that he has about where he lives, the people he lives with, and kind of the weird duality of his mundane job next to what his roommates do for a living.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which is just
it's really,
really
funny.
really
It's a funny
fun.
one, yeah.
Plus, we've got this great, I love this Matteo Scalera variant right here. This kind of old-timey King Kong vibe is really cool. We've got a couple other variants for it. This is the Bernison variant with that iguana thing that really wants some ice cream. And there is a 110 polybag variant by Jay Lee. We're selling for $18.99. And I think you could see what this was in the previous issue, but it's a really cool like Frankenstein cover. So there is that.
All right, so next we got Batman number 149. This is an epilogue to the Dark Prison story arc. So everything with Failsafe is done for now. We know he's going to pop up again in Absolute Power. But yeah, this is everybody can kind of regroup and catch their breath in this little bit. Like I said, the threat of Failsafe is over, but there's still one more character from the Dark Prison story arc that Batman is dealing with. I won't tell you who or what, just in case you're behind or haven't read it yet. But there is still a little bit of a loose end that Batman's working on. Plus, there is this book kind of sets a new status quo for Batman and the Bat family. And I won't tell you what it is, but when you read it, you'll understand what I mean. And we know next issue is going to be kind of a one and done story about a guy who discovers Batman's secret identity, and so that makes him the most dangerous man in Gotham. And then there's a backup story that ties into Absolute Power too. So this is kind of the last of it before we get into the Absolute Power stuff for the next couple of months. But a really good wrap up to the everything that's been going on so far. And I want to see, with the status quo they've set up, I can't wait to see where that goes. So a solid issue there.
Yeah, I know how this ends, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, for sure. There's our A cover, and then we have this Delato variant with Batman and Bane, which is very cool. Bane is not in this issue. Public service announcement: Bane is not in.
And lastly, for me, I've got Helen of Wyndhorn number 3, continuing this Tom King and Bilquis Evely. Fantastic story. The kind of the Conan feel of it, the kind of Lion Witch and Wardrobe feel of it, I love. And in this one, Helen goes on her first adventure into this mystical other world that her father has been writing about. And she learns more about her origin while there. But a beautiful third issue. If you've been enjoying the series, you will love this one. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. That is our A cover. And then we also have a 1 in 10 Moon variant. We're selling for $9.99.
And just real quick, I want to talk about Batman Superman World's Finest number 28, because we did not get to talk about number 27 when it came out, because that week was a huge week. But we love World's Finest and just want to talk about it anytime it's available. So this new issue is part 3 of the Impossible story arc with all the fifth dimensional imps. It's not quite finished yet, but it's getting there. But Batman and Superman and Batmite are still trapped in the 6th dimension. So Mr. Mxyzptlk gives all of his, magic powers to Jimmy Olsen to deal with.
Such a Jimmy Olsen old story idea.
And so Jimmy has to go deal with all the threats in Metropolis, and hilarity ensues. That's all my notes say. Hilarity ensues because it's action packed. Obviously the art's great, but it's fun as well, kind of funny, that kind of thing. So another solid issue of World's Finest, still one of my favorites on the stands. So there is our A cover right here. And then we have this really nice Massafera variant, just super classic looking Superman and Batman.
Really colorful. I love that.
Yeah, I love it.
And that is it for our early comics review video. Thank you so much for watching. Like we said at the beginning, head over to infinityflux.net right now, where these books are available while supplies last, so you can go ahead and pick up the ones that you thought sounded really great for you. Stay tuned for our show coming up on Wednesday. We'll be going over the comics that you can pre-order by the weekend. And like we also said, coming up on Friday, we'll be doing that interview with Benjamin Percy. So leave your comments in the comments, and your questions in the comments.
Yeah, questions in the comments.
You can also just comment
Yeah,
there.
sure.
But leave your question in the comments for him, and we may use them for the interview. It's going to be a real quick one, but I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that, and a bunch of other fun stuff we got coming up very soon. Remember to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And
if you made it this far to the end, leave us a duck and or a coin.
Oh, that's perfect.
For Uncle Scrooge. Maybe leave both.
Exactly. That way we know you made it to the end and
That's
you
right.
listened to us blather. So until next time, see ya.